So today I'm going to talk about my healthcare reform, and this is my speech on persuasion and why I believe we should keep it and who it affects and just basically the reasons why. Um, I strongly believe in this topic because I work in healthcare. And working in healthcare, you hear many stories about how people have so many issues with healthcare. And I believe if we get rid of Obamacare, that it would affect so many people in the hospital, especially those that have pre-existing conditions or those that have disabilities, that basically Obamacare covers for them and why they would be greatly affected by it. So in the next slide, we are basically going to talk about who it affects. And it basically affects the elderly and the minorities. And the reasons why I feel like you should keep Obamacare is because it protects you from being discriminated and being charged higher rates. When I was looking up and looking through a few articles, it basically stated why we why we would be discriminated. Basically, one of the facts were about women were charged higher rates than men. Really didn't understand why we were charged, but that's just one of the stipulations. With Obamacare, that's not the case. Everybody is charged the same equally and around the board. Another reason why you should keep Obamacare because it gives you insurance. It helps those that do not have money for insurance to be able to afford insurance or be able to get Medicaid so they can have some type of insurance to help with their healthcare issues or health issues or diseases or disabilities and all of that. And it covers a wide range of income statuses. By that I mean people that are in between jobs, they can't afford health care, or people that are on a income budget that can only be able to afford a certain amount a month. That basically fits to your income status or economic status too as well. It would definitely affect elderly people and minority people when it comes to medications because medications are so expensive. I know an experience with dealing with my mom. Most of the medicines that she's on for arthritis and her GI situations and all of those other things, a lot of those medicines are very expensive. I know one of her medications for acid reflux was $900, and there was no generic form for that, which we had to find a different way because her insurance company wouldn't cover it or they wouldn't pay for it. And she works for a private hospital, which basically deals with private care people. But with Obamacare, you're able to get discounts on insurance, on medications, and all of those things. So I think we should keep it because for elderly people, they could be able to afford their medications. For people that are poor, they'll be able to afford their medications. And people that are in a financial bind or have a, what do you call it? A financial, not debt, but financial bracket where they can only spend a certain amount of money. So that would help them a lot if they use Obamacare because they have many discount programs that are able to help you to either get the medication for free or be able to afford the medication at a lower price. In the next slide, we basically talk about the analysis of Donald Trump's healthcare plan. I personally don't think this is a great plan because it affects so many people. In the plan, it would double the number of uninsured people. Over millions and millions and millions of people would lose insurance, so that means you will get no coverage on anything. You would, say, if you're in the middle of chemo treatments, you will not be able to continue doing your chemo treatments if you are cut from your insurance or your coverage. You don't have any coverage. So think about all those things of who it affects and who it would not affect. It may not affect you at the time, but maybe it might affect somebody in your family. Maybe it might affect you down the line. You never know. There's anything in life can happen. You can lose your job, you can lose your house, you can lose all kinds of things. And if he puts his health care in form, that you can be put in that bracket. So my motto is I always put myself in other people's shoes, and I always think about them as well, because just because you're not affected by it, don't mean that you won't be affected by it down the line. His healthcare plan also blocks a wide range of Medicaid people for grants, and they will not be able to, Medicaid grant programs would not be able to be funded. They would have to stop it. It would have to be, taken away. So think about your child that has PT or OT or speech therapy, and it's due a grant-based income from Medicaid. That's going to be cut. So just think about those things and say, well, maybe Obamacare is not a bad choice anyway. And on my next slide, we are basically wrapping it up. And this is how I basically feel Donald Trump feels about us having to deal with the healthcare reform and how it doesn't really affect him. It doesn't really affect him because he's not in that minority or that elderly stage where he has to worry about these things. He doesn't have to worry about losing his insurance because he'll always have insurance because he's the president. And even if he wasn't the president, he would still be able to afford insurance because he's wealthy, he's rich. So just think about whether you want someone like this cutting your health care. What if you is this person in this shoe that is unable to have health care now? So I just want you to sit back and think about, the people that care about you. I feel like Obama, when he was in office, he cared about everybody being covered. He felt like that was important because a lot of people couldn't afford it, so he made it affordable. I believe that he just mainly cared about the citizens. Donald Trump doesn't really care about whether you pay your healthcare bill or not. So I just want to take the time and say thank you for listening to my speech. Thank you for listening to my points. And maybe you would consider about keeping Obamacare and not considering Trump's healthcare plan, because I don't think it would benefit you. I think it would hurt you in the long run. Thanks again for listening, and have a good night. Don't stop it. This is my group.
You wasn't here before.